Hello and welcome to this lesson introducing this software tool designed for course management. A software that allows managing courses provided by training agencies, but also by cultural and sports associations. Because, as we will see, it offers a wide range of data entry options that can be used by various institutions offering training courses, notably the ability to register for in-person, video conference, and online courses. As agencies often do, along with options for monthly payments, as practiced in sports clubs or cultural associations, dance schools, or other similar institutions. So this software is very easy to use and provides a user-friendly environment. Data that we will now quickly examine, and it features a data consultation environment from which all the data that is being gradually inserted can be accessed, and then an environment for printing, where they can be customized. So for example, when we are going to create the printout that is given to a learner, we can include the city, the day, the month, and the year, so that it can be completely customizable too. Like the footer, where we will insert information about the association or the training agency that provides the courses. Moreover, it is indeed possible to create a variety of reports that we will review, which primarily relate to the issuance of attendance certificates for training courses. So I first mentioned that we have this data entry environment and that in the upcoming lessons, we will gradually see how it is filled out first. The database within these data entry menus. Then we will insert 3 courses for each category. So one in-person course and one distance learning course. One course delivered via video conference. Then from here, as we can see, it is possible to print reports for courses delivered in person or through distance learning via video conference. There is also the option to print the self-certification for those taking the course remotely. For those participating in the course via video conference, there is a self-certification confirming their attendance. Thus, the lessons include the self-certification mandated by law. And as you can see, there is also this option, the registration form for the HCCP course, and the attendance form for the remote HCCP, with which, therefore, we declare that we have attended the course, and for the HCCP, there is additional information that we will examine, which will need to be added in addition to those that we will see for all the other courses. So up there we can see this data entry environment regarding the type of course. Now I won't go into detail in all fields, as we'll see them one by one during data entry. So the type of course, the 3 main instructors, the location, the start, the end, and the cost of the notes that will follow end up in the report. And here, there is a whole series of buttons from which, as we will see, it can be queried immediately, the database, without needing to go into the data viewing environment you have seen. First then, without leaving here, other buttons that we will see for course alerts, for course deadlines. And then there is also the possibility of creating a file for a course, in the sense that if I click here, as we will see, a yellow folder will be automatically created. And from there, we can open it in relation to this idea of course number 1 or number N, where we can put all the documents related to this course, inside of which, of course, they can also be opened as subfolders. Let's take a quick look at these tabs. Here at the bottom are the notes for remembrance regarding everything I'm going to say, obviously concerning a course identifier. In this case, for identifier number 1, it is possible to take memo annotation. Here, you can write up to 64,000 characters. Here is the company's data. If the course is given to a company or if it pertains to a company. With remote facilities, here, it can indicate the remote site where the course is delivered, where one can also leave this section empty. Here, it is the section related to insertion. Data on the participants. 1 person. The data we entered earlier will be automatically integrated into this person, as we will see. And here you can see that it's also possible to insert payment due dates. If it were a dance class, an English class, or a tennis class in a sports organization. So the monthly deadlines for membership fee payments, obviously, all this data will be entered for each student only once. Thus, if he takes the course the following year or in 5 years, as in the case of the HCCP, if he returns to take the course, it will be enough to come back here, select the person's name, and all this personal data will automatically fill in all the fields you see. Next, we have the teachers. So, in addition to the principal, the teacher, and the co-teacher, we could add other teachers with their information, what they teach, their email, and the course payment. Next, we have the attendance register for the in-person course, where we will record all related data. This includes the theme, module, attendance, course dates, along with start and end times. The same applies to the distance learning course, for which I need to access another file, as I have related it to the idea number. 2. A distance training course, also in this case with accurate data, as you can see, as we previously saw for the in-person course. It is the same for that. And let's move on to another one. Sign up for the log of courses conducted via video conference. Next, we have the documents, which means that regarding the courses, we could include the handouts that teachers provide to students, as well as the documents. For example, we need to submit it to a public agency to obtain funding for the instructor. It often happens that for training programs, there is, for example, funding from the state, the region, and the European Social Fund, and therefore to access these funds. Perhaps we start recording the course here well in advance and compile all the documents we need to submit, for example, to the region to access funding from the European Social Fund that will support the course fully or partially. Next, we have the deadlines for the course. So we can be part of the course, involving a series of tasks we need to complete to provide evidence. And so, we will list all the course deadlines that need to be highlighted. Here, we have the signatures of the management. This includes the signatures, the layouts, and where all the data you've seen so far will be placed. This is the section to access the report directly. However, as we noted, we can also access it from here. From here, we will decide if it is an in-person class, a video conference, or an online class. Then, the requests will organize the data into the appropriate folders. And from here, we will decide whether it is paid for by the company or the student, or if the student pays through various options, such as for a dance class or a tennis class, but also for a more costly course that can still be paid in multiple installments. With the database, we can thus manage many types of courses, as mentioned, because now, certainly those in video conferencing and those online, which are courses that focus more on work-related subjects. However, the in-class courses, let's go back to recording number 1 for the in-class courses. We can have both the English course, as I mentioned earlier in this case, an English course that includes all the relevant subjects and modules. But it can also be a course, as I mentioned before, a dance course, a tennis course, where we will list all the payment deadlines here. Because then, in the data review environment, we will have an overview of all these deadlines to keep them in mind. This is an important aspect of business management. When consulting the data, we could look for the list, learners, for the speech, and any missing documents from the person if needed. It will certainly be necessary if we need to report later. For example, attendance in courses in case of funding from the European Social Fund or other institutions. Public, the missing signatures that should be added to a document that could be useful to us. Digitally, we can search for courses, whether they are open or closed. Update the list of open and closed courses. And we can look for teachers for the discussion. The salaries of teachers and concerning the courses with deadlines, such as those from the HCCP, which need to be renewed every 5 years. to work with food in restaurants or in gastronomy. We will update the list. We will have all the alerts and the search for alerts as well, in the sense that alerts will appear automatically even when we open the MEAR file if there was an alert on a course due today, not only regarding the MEAR. The course expires today, and we have an alert for it, because we might need to tell the person, look, that in 3 months your HCCP course will expire and you need to retake it. Otherwise, you might forget and you could face consequences, or even a fine imposed on your employer. We can search for courses by modality and exemption, those in person, those via video conference, those remote, and all three. We can also search these categories by date range. And we will also be able to look for the deadlines related to the documents. That is, when there is a deadline, for example, for document submission, to the region to obtain funding from the European Social Fund. And then regarding payments, let's see what is still pending, which has not been paid to us, if it was the company's responsibility, if it was the student's responsibility all at once, or if it was just the student's responsibility through several solutions. The last thing we had already seen was about the printouts. So let's conclude this presentation lesson on this computer tool here. And I look forward to seeing you in the upcoming lessons, where we will begin by exploring its usage and methods for data entry. I'll be waiting for you for the next lesson.